students, welcome back to my class. So today we are going to continue the same lesson which is of class 8th forest using and protecting. So this is the 5th lesson, already I have mentioned on the board. So let's move to the next subtopic. In the previous class we have gone through the introduction part of this lesson, what is meant by forest, etc, etc. So today we are going to move with the next subtopic, which is the location and the types of forest. How many types of forest are there, where the forests are going to be located? Let's see in detail all these questions. Okay, so the next subtopic is location and types of forest. Okay, where does the forest grow? It is a difficult question to answer. Several thousand years ago, forest grew almost everywhere where there was soil, sunshine and rain. So several thousands of years ago, forests used to grow everywhere where there are basic essentials. What are those basic essentials? Where there is soil, sunshine and rain. So these are the basic essentials which the forests need. Yes, thus forests did not grow only in the Arctic regions or high up in the snow covered Himalayas or sandy or rocky deserts or on sandy sea coast. Okay, so it is not like that the forests are going to grow only in the areas which are covered with the Himalayas, which are covered with the sandy or rocky desert. It is not like that. Forest can grow anywhere and everywhere. Leaving aside such places, forest grew almost everywhere. So it is not important, or else we can say कि हमें इतना ज़्यादा important नहीं है कि forest अगर हमें grow करना चाहिए. There must be Himalayas, there must be sandy or rocky deserts and snowfall. It is not like that the forest can grow everywhere. Leaving aside all these things, we can grow the forest everywhere. However, as human beings took to agriculture and living in villages and towns, forests were cut down for agriculture, mines, plantation, industries, etc. So in the villages, what is happening? The human beings are cutting down the forest. For what purpose? For growing the agriculture, for mining, for industries, for plantation, etc, etc. For their purpose, they are cutting down the forest in the villages. So that are not useful for agriculture. Forests were confined only to tracts that were not useful only for the agriculture. Okay, regions that were hilly, swampy, rocky, etc. or which were too cold or far away from population centers retained forest cover. So in the villages or in some places, the forest must be grown where the regions that were hilly, rocky, etc., which are too cold or far away from the population, from the city area centers, retained forest cover. So at that places only the forest will be available. Forest can be classified on the basis of different criteria. Yes, we cannot directly say what basic essential needs to grow a forest, where the forests are going to be located. So many different criteria we need to consider. Okay, so on that what we are getting to know that it can be classified on the basis of different criteria. For example, we can classify them on the basis of, we can classify them on the basis of how dense or sparse the vegetation is. Okay, we can differentiate the forest on basic criteria. So what are those basic criteria? For example, how dense the forest is. Dense means everybody knows that thick and ghana jungle, like that. How dense the forest is, and what else? Basic criteria we can consider. So the first one is this, and the second one is sparse the vegetation is. Sparse, what do you mean by sparse? S-P-A. Sparse means few little plants, few little trees. Forest having few little trees. So, this is the meaning of sparse and vegetation, and how the dense or sparse the vegetation is. What do you mean by vegetation? Vegetation means where all the growing plants found in a particular place, that is called vegetation. So, that is why vegetation here means in the forest, how all the growing plants are found in a forest. So, on that basis we can classify how the forest should be, where the forest is going to be located. So, this is the basic criteria that we can consider is. So, the first one is how dense the forest is, and next is the sparse the vegetation, or the sparse or the vegetation, few little trees in the forest, and the vegetation all growing plants found in a particular place. I hope it is clear to everyone now what do you mean by vegetation. We can have very dense forest, open scrub forest, degraded forest, etc., etc. So, these are the types of the forest that we can classify on the basis of different criteria, like the how the dense forest is, how many trees are there in the forest, and how the plants are going at a particular place, which is nothing but a particular forest. This classification help us to understand where we have thick forest, cover, and where it is in a degraded situation. So, considering these points, we can assume and able to understand where the forest, where the thick forest is, and where it's in a degraded situation, whether the forest is a healthy forest, whether it is in a degraded situation. So, by considering these simple basic criteria 1, 2 and 3, we can understand the situation and the status of the forest. So, another way of classifying the forest is by looking at the type of vegetation that grows in them. So, the different forest will have different kinds of vegetation as per the climatic conditions and environment, and in which state or city the forest is located. It also depends upon various things. Basically, the first thing is the environment. What environment is there in a particular state? As per that, the forest is going to take place. As per that, the type of vegetation is growth in that forest. I hope it is clear to everyone. Different kinds of forest are there. How to understand how the forest is dense, how the forest is in a good or a bad condition, we can consider it by these simple criteria. What is another type of way to consider how the forest is in a condition, in what condition, is looking at the type of vegetation that grows in them. Different kinds of trees grows in places which have a particular climate. Just now, as I have mentioned, that different kinds of trees grows in places which have a particular climate, combination of rainfall, temperature, and cycle of dry, wet, and hot months, etc. So, these are the basic essential, what we can say, basic essential elements to consider how the situation of forest is. So, what are those? So, the first thing is we need to consider is different kinds of trees grows in a place which have a particular climate, and what else? Combination of rainfall. Yes, these all matters, बहुत ज़्यादा matter करते हैं forest के लिए. Different kinds of trees, climate also matters a lot. Combination of rainfall, and what else? Temperature, weather, cycle of wet or dry. and what else, and hot months, etc. So these are the basic things that we can able to understand the situation of the forest, whether the forest is developing in a healthy way or in a degraded situation. So different kinds of trees will grow in a different forest, okay, in different places. And for forest, what are other things that are very much important are climate, how the combination of rainfall, temperature, what temperature is there having in a particular place, cycle of wet or dry, hot months, etc. These are all the important things. So let's see the next important point. For example, some trees such as coniferous trees like pine will only grow in very cold climates. So for understanding the situation of the forest and how the process will happen is the trees which are such as coniferous trees like pine and cones. These are the trees which will only grow in a very cold climates, okay, which also have snowfall. So particular trees will grow in places where there is snowfall, where there is cold climates. So what are the names of those trees? Is coniferous trees like pine and cone, okay. So these trees will grow in the cold climates where there is snowfall. Some trees like teak, okay, some trees like teak grow in regions of moderate rain and warm temperatures. So these kind of trees will grow in a forest where the climate is moderate, not very much hot, not very much cold. It is called moderate. So moderate temperatures where there is limited rain and limited summer seasons, limited temperature, not so hot, not so cold. The density of the trees will also depend upon the nature of rainfall and temperature. So in the forest, when the trees are growing, it also depends the nature of rainfall and temperature. The density of the trees means how the trees are going to grow in a healthy condition, in a slow movements, in a dull degraded situation. So this is the density of the trees also depends upon the nature. Nature means environment, okay, atmosphere and rainfall and temperature. How the rainfall is occurring in a particular forest, it affects the density of trees. Rainfall and nature also have a huge impact on density of trees, how they are growing, how they are developing, what is the situation of the trees, whether they are growing at a time to time or not. All it is depends upon the environment, nature, weather, temperature, how much hot, how much cold, etc., etc. Okay, now let us learn more about some more main types of forest or else kind of forest. Next subtopic is the types of forest. So the first type of forest that we are going to discuss is the evergreen forest. Okay, evergreen forest, regions which get very high rainfall and also have a very warm climate such as equatorial regions or regions like Kerala and Andaman in India have evergreen forest, okay. So the regions which are having very high rainfall and a very warm temperatures, or else we can say the climate such as equatorial regions. What are the equatorial regions? Equatorial regions are nothing but which are middle, which are very close to the equator. So the regions like Kerala and Andaman in India. So what are those regions in India? It is Kerala and Andaman. So these two regions having evergreen forest. Okay, and the equatorial regions which are having very high rainfall and very warm climate. So on that regions evergreen forest will be going to take its place. And in our India, where these evergreens are going to be found? In the Kerala and in Andaman. Okay. These are dense forests with a large shed. These are dense forests with a large variety of trees, plants, creepers, etc. So these are the forests which are having, for what are those things which are having? Having large variety of plants. So this evergreen forest is full of plants and what else? Trees, creepers, etc. Okay. These forests always green as the trees shed their old leaves, but new leaves grew very soon. So what is another main advantage, what or else we can say a good quality of these evergreen forests are that in these forests when the leaves will fall out, as soon as the new leaves will start forming. Yes, and the trees are always going to be green. Okay, which are a very healthy sign for the forest and trees. So trees are always green, and when the trees drop their leaves, the new leaves will start forming very soon. While one kind of tree sheds its leaf, another tree remains green. See, another what we can say benefit and advantage of these evergreen forest are like when trees shed its leaf, drop out its leaves, another trees remain green as it is. This is because they got so much of moisture and warmth to grow constantly. So this is the reason behind these trees, that they are always green, and when the leaves drop out or falls out, another tree will start forming very soonly, and the trees will remain green always. Okay, and what else? Because of the trees are getting so much of moisture and warmth to grow constantly. Jamun, canes, bamboo, cardam, etc. are some characteristic trees of these regions. So all these things what we have said just now, jamun, canes, bamboos and cardam, etc. are grown in this evergreen forest. We do not have such forest in Telangana. We doesn't have evergreen forest like this kind of forest in Telangana. Okay, there are also different kinds of evergreen forest in the Himalayas also. So these forests are also available in Himalayas. Evergreen forest is also there in the Himalayas. These are pine forest which remains green throughout the year. So the evergreen forest which are available in the Himalayas are evergreen forest throughout the year. In the Himalayas, when these evergreen forests are there, the leaves of the trees are very much thin and shaped like needles. So the leaves are very thin and shaped like needles. We can say like this. Needles, everybody knows how the needles look like. Okay, and they are very much thin and shaped like a needles. These trees don't bear flowers but produce cones and hence are called coniferous trees. Some forests are like that where they grow only coniferous what we can say cones. So that trees are called coniferous trees. Okay, and in Himalayas the trees don't bear flowers but produce cones. So the trees which produce cones are called coniferous trees. These trees grows in areas with snowfall. Obviously, everybody know how the Himalayas are, what is the climatic conditions on Himalayas. There must be a heavy snowfall. So, that is why these trees will grow. Which trees? Coniferous trees will grow in Himalayas only, where there is heavy snowfall. Hence, these trees have needle-like leaves. So, यहाँ के जो झाड़ है उनके पत्ते जो है इतने thin and they are in a shape of needles which do not allow the snow to rest on them. So, on these trees the snow is not going to rest. The snow will not going to stay on these leaves. Why? Because they are very much thin and shaped in a needle. That is why the snow will fall out. Snow will slip out down the sides and falls on the ground just like sloping tile roofs of houses. So, this is the example that the snow is not going to remain on those leaves. Why? Because they are very thin and sharp, edgy like needle. So, that is the reason in the Himalayas, in the trees which are there in the Himalayas, that they are not going to stay on the trees. The snow is not going to be stay because of this leaf shape, needle, they are in needle shape. So, the next forest that we are going to discuss is the deciduous forest. So, what kind of type of forest is this and what things are grown in this forest and where they are available? Let's see. So, the next type of forest is the deciduous forest. These grow in regions where it rains only for some months and is warm and dry for most of the year. So, what is the quality and what we can say? The nature of the forest for the deciduous forest is that these forests will grow in regions where the rains only for some months. Rain should be there for only some months, and what else? And warm and dry for most of the year. Warm and dry most of the year. So, these forests will grow in Telangana where there is less rainfall and most of the year we are having hot season, which is nothing but the season. Why? Because we will get less rainfall throughout the year and we are having warm and dry months most of the year. So, that is why this deciduous forest will grow in the Telangana region. So, in the deciduous forest, it is again divided into two types. So, this deciduous forest is again divided into two types. So, what are those types? Let us see. So, there are two types in the deciduous forest, which in that there is more rainfall, less rainfall. So, this category is again divided into two types, where the deciduous forest will receive more rain and the second type where the deciduous forest receive less rain throughout the year. Normally, there are two which receive less rain. The deciduous forests which receive more rain have the following kinds of trees. So, in the deciduous forest which are receiving more rain, some particular kinds of trees are going to take place or else grow in those places which having more rainfall. So, what are the names of those trees? Let us see. Those are Vegi, Arjuna, Bhandaru, Gittigi and Teak. तो ये जो सब trees है, these are the names of the trees जो deciduous forest में grow करते जहाँ पे more rainfall है. Okay, I hope it is clear to everyone. In Telangana, such trees are found in Komram Bhim. तो तेलंगाना में ये सब trees कहाँ पे पाए जाते हैं? It is found in Komram Bhim, Adilabad and Mancharyala, Nagar, Karnool, Jayashankar and Bhadradri districts. So, these are the names of the districts where we can see the deciduous forest with more rainfall. So, these are the trees are going to take place in these forests. So, what are those districts where these deciduous forests are going to be located is the Koram-Bhim, Jayashankar, Bhadradri district, Adilabad, etc. So, let us see the next deciduous forest with less rainfall. So, let us see what kind of trees are grown in the deciduous forest which are having less rainfall. In areas with less rainfall, we are having trees like Maddi, Teak, and what else? Velaga. These are all the names of the trees, and Neem tree also, and what else? Chiguru, Tunuki, etc. So, these are the trees which grow in the deciduous forest with less rainfall. Okay. Widespread in Telangana. So, where these forests are going to be located, कहाँ पे पाए जाएंगे ऐसे forests with less rainfall? In the Adilabad, Warangal, Khammam, Nizamabad, Karimnagar and some areas of Mehboob districts. So, the forest, the deciduous forest with less rainfall will be located in the districts like Warangal, Khammam, Nizamabad, Karimnagar and some areas of the Mehboob Nagar, etc. So, these are all the names of the trees. Okay? I hope it is clear to everyone. In the next class, we are going to continue the same lesson with third type of forest, which is nothing but the thorny forest. So, what do you mean by thorny forests? All we are going to learn and get in detail about these thorny forest in the next class. Till then, revise these first two types of forest that we have discussed in this class is the evergreen forest and the deciduous forest. Till then, take care of yourself, revise this chapter for your better understanding how the forest are, location of forest, types of forest, etc., etc. Till then, take care of yourself. Thank you.